when we were prepping up a little bit before, you were saying between 13 and 16, you were trying to balance running the streets and working, making money.
Mm-hmm.
So at 13, that's a pretty young age
Mm-hmm.
to already be working. So what were you doing to earn money at that time?
At that time, well, you yourself had the office furniture installation company.
Mm-hmm.
So I was going to school, about 13, junior high. I was going to school, and then from when I got out of school, I'd get picked up, and then I'd have my clothes there. So if you guys were doing a later job, then I'd go help you out for the rest of the evening. Or if you guys had weekend jobs, I was there working also.
And at 13, do you think you were really putting in work, or was Big Brother just being nice to you and saying, "Hey, come in and move these boxes over here"? Can you remember back then what you were doing?
Yeah, at that time, wow, that was the bottom of the barrel. Yeah, I mean, to me, I thought I was going there and doing work, you know. So I'm not sure exactly what everyone else's thought process was. Maybe, hey, this kid showing up here and getting in everyone's way. Maybe, maybe not. But I know, yeah, that's what I was doing, is pushing boxes, moving trash, basically cleaning up the workspace, because it was towards the end of the day. So I was loading up all the trash from the job site into the truck.
So at that time, do you remember on the crew, was it other teenagers on the crew? Were they?
Oh no, it was all adults. All adults. Most of them were early 20s up to grown men, 50s, whatever it was.
Now I know in this particular instance, it was my company, so of course your family, you're gonna come and work, you're gonna learn a trade, but you're also gonna learn how to earn as well. But other people on the crew, they could not accept that. It could be very well for them to be like, "Oh, this kid, like you said, he's getting in my way, or he's taking hours from me because he's the little brother."
Mm-hmm.
So how important do you think it was for you to go in there and work? And was that your mindset? Like, I'm going in to prove something? Or was it, I'm going in because I want to make some money and make a little paycheck?
I think it was a little bit of both, because I think at that particular time, I wanted to make money. I wanted to make money because...
and this is at 13.
This was at 13 years old.
So where do you think that came from?
Just kind of more family values. I mean, the way we were raised and brought up. My mom always hustled, whether she was working out at a job site or she was babysitting, she was always hustling. My dad was always hustling from before I can even remember. And I know just our living, we were always well taken care of, but I know things were extremely tight. So to know that they were on the grind, and me having the opportunity to be able to do the same thing, and not so much that I had to work to provide for them, but more to provide for myself. So I wanted to kind of take that off of their plate of having to ask them for money for me to do whatever activities I wanted to do. That's kind of the mindset I had going into working.
So it was less for them out of pocket because you were able to have money to either buy yourself some shoes, buy yourself clothes, or if you want to just go out and hang out with friends.
Exactly.
And through 13, 14, have you always kept the job working?
Yeah.
Because that's a young age to always be working. You don't see that very often.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I did. From 13, I worked. Yeah, I was doing, again, going to school and then working office furniture installation all the way through, still this current day, but yeah, from there I got tired of that. Again, a lot of that had to do with dealing with the older crowd on the crew. None of them really respected that I was there to work. It was more, I was taking hours from them because I was just family and I was given the hours, but I really think that I was putting in work to actually show that I was worth those hours, But to kind of get out of all of that, I decided, okay, well, I'm gonna get into some telemarketing. So then I got into telemarketing for a little bit. That was something I really hated. I didn't like having to call and basically harass people for things that I didn't even believe in. So then from there, that was about 14. Then I went back to working for Regalado office furniture.
But telemarketing, that wasn't family, right?
No.
The reason why I'm asking is because although there may be a lot of kids out there who want to work, they may not have that same opportunity where their family owns businesses where they can go in and work.
Yeah.
So tell us how did you end up getting that telemarketing job as a 14-year-old with a company that's not owned by family? How did you acquire that?
So I had met a gentleman through the Friday night softball league that our family was on. So he was in telemarketing at that particular company. Yeah, me being a young kid, to go in there at that age and get hired or something like that. I mean, I guess I had to have known somebody because he helped me get in there. He let them know my work ethic at such a young age.
How did he know about your work ethic though?
Because he also worked for office furniture installation, so he did a little bit of work for your company as well.
Mm-hmm.
But he kind of just jumped around here and there. So me just going to work there, he's seen my grind from school to work and then home at such a young age.
So that's key right there. Is you were in an environment with what you're saying is people weren't always happy to have you there.
Mm-hmm.
Yet you grinded. You didn't let that affect you.
Correct.
And because you kind of shut that out, you were able to impress somebody.
Mm-hmm.
Not even caring. You weren't trying to impress this one certain person, but because you said, well, I'm not going to be liked. I'm here to work and to earn. That they seen it, and it led somewhere positive for you.
Exactly.
So how important is that lesson for anybody to know, is to like grind when nobody's watching?
It's extremely important. Just like they say, if you're gonna flip burgers, be the best damn burger flipper there could be. It doesn't matter what you're doing. If you're gonna do it to your best ability, because again, you never know who's watching and you never know where that's going to lead you to.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate because I know when we're talking to teens, because we're adults, their first thing is to disagree.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna do that with you when it comes to this. Why flipping burgers if I'm at a McDonald's and I'm getting paid crap and my manager doesn't even care? Why should I take pride in flipping burgers when I don't even want to be there? I'm just there for the check.
Correct. So first of all, my thought on that is, if you really hate flipping burgers, then don't go apply for flipping burgers. Apply for something that you're at least somewhat interested in at that particular time. Even though maybe that's not what you want to do, but you want to make some cash, take the route of finding something that sparks your interest and do it to the best of your ability, because you never know. So if you are flipping burgers, you never know if whoever's coming through that drive-through, your customer service that you're providing that individual who just went to go get a burger, you never know what business they're running, what they have their hands into. You don't know any of that. So if they see a crappy work ethic from you, yeah, you're probably gonna stand out to them, but in a negative way. But if you have a positive mindset and just positive all the way around, and you're at work, how do you know that individual is not interested now in you? You know what I mean? Maybe it's a multi-million-dollar company they're running, and they're looking for like-minded people with positive mindsets.
Where they could say, damn, that kid flipped burgers like a champ.
Correct.
I can just imagine what he could do you know, for our company.
Exactly. With some more pay and with some more structure, this kid's probably gonna excel to be something great. You never know.
And it's just repetition, doing it over and over anyways, right?
That's all it is.
If you hold yourself up to a certain level, you don't really need anybody else to pat you on the back. You got to do it for yourself.
For yourself.
Because hopefully whoever you're working around, you're going to surpass them anyway.
Correct.
You don't want to just work just to get, you know, on their level.
No, definitely not.
Especially in that, depending on the environment you're in.
Exactly right.
So, after telemarketing, did that work out for you?
No.
No?
No, definitely not. I didn't like it.
So, between labor and telemarketing, you kind of showed you would choose labor at that time?
At that time, yeah.
And did you just go back to the office furniture installation, or from telemarketing did you go somewhere else after?
No, telemarketing, I went back to, excuse me, to the office furniture and school. That's what I was doing.
And at school, we're talking about high school.
High
so,
school,
yeah.
yeah. Well, now high school, because it was junior high. And then I worked all through the summer. I did the telemarketing and the office furniture. And then, yeah, high school came about. And I was in high school, freshman. What is he, 14, 15 years old then?
Yeah, freshman.
Mm-hmm. So I did office furniture along with going to school.
And between that time, you kind of always did school, work. Obviously, you had a personal life
Mm-hmm.
as well. And within that personal life of yours, you ended up getting your wife now
Mm-hmm.
pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about that, because this happened at 15
Mm-hmm.
years old. So, you know, and I know you've always been, when it comes to work, it's coming to work.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to play, you like to play.
Mm-hmm.
And you go hard both ways.
Correct.
So, I know damn well you're not out there trying to have a baby. It's very rare that happens at that age, period.
Mm-hmm.
But it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so, at 15 years old, what the hell were you thinking when you found out, and how did you find out
About
that you were now going to be a dad?
well, what was I thinking at that time? Yeah, I was working and going to school, and I had just met a whole bunch of new people, because now you're in high school, you know. So meeting new people, starting to go out a lot more. Again, still a student, but still maintaining my work. Again, like you pointed out, if I'm doing it, I'm going all in. You know, whether it's work, school, or partying.
Mm-hmm.
And I was doing all of that. And I met Samantha, my wife now, at that early age of 15 years old, partying, having a good time, and yeah, it came about that time of she hit me with, you know, hey, I'm pregnant, and what are we gonna do, you know?
So, leading up to that point, you're, like we touched base, you weren't obviously trying to have a kid,
Yeah,
but you had been sexually active already for, what, a couple years?
yeah, a few years. Yeah, yeah. We started pretty young back then.
So, what do you think happened? Because I want these teenagers to know. Was it condoms you were relying on? Was it the pill you were relying on? Because I know at that age, sometimes you let the hormones take over, and if you don't really care too much if you got the right protection.
Correct, and that's what it was. Just let the hormones completely take over. To be all honest with you, there was no really condoms involved. There was no birth control. It was kind of the old pull-out method, you know, and kind of try to play it safe that way. And I was young. I
So
was.
pulling out doesn't work or does work?
It doesn't work, guys. Yeah, don't do that.
Was that your method before and you had just got lucky?
Yeah, it was just exactly right. And I mean, if you were lucky, they were on board.
Either that or you're so young you're shooting blanks.
Yeah, maybe. You know, I was so damn young I didn't even produce yet, you know. But really, you kind of relied on the girl being on birth control and just hoping for the best.
And if she says it, you're like, oh, that's good enough for me.
Good enough for me. It's a stupid mentality at that time, you know. And that's really where I was.
So that happens. She breaks it to you that you're now both going to be parents.
Mm-hmm.
Now I think the next big step, the next big step in that is coming out to your parents about. So tell us how you went about that.
I remember being extremely nervous, being very, very. I know even when she hit me with that, I didn't even know how to react. I didn't know how to react. I was shook myself, and I basically told her, hey, I think we need a break. You know, we need a break at this time. And
cold blood.
And again, I wasn't trying to be. My intentions weren't to be an asshole, but I thought, damn, just got into high school. I'm literally just getting started on going out and enjoying myself, and I just felt I wasn't ready to settle down. Funny as it sounds, yeah, I did it all the complete opposite and backwards. But yeah, when she hit me with that, my first reaction was, I need to get out of this, you know. Obviously we knew, we knew at that time.
Like it's something you can get out of.
Yeah, and we knew at that time we were keeping it. We were gonna make things work. So I had to tell my parents. I had to tell them. I broke it to them. You know, they were extremely upset because they always pushed the issue of protection. Don't have kids young. We had kids young. And
not to mention your brother already had like 3 or 4
yeah,
kids.
exactly. You know, a little baby making machine, you know. And yeah, so I broke it to them, and I knew obviously it was gonna come, so I had to let them know. They weren't happy. They weren't happy at all, but it was my responsibility all the way around.
Okay, so you accept that you're gonna be a dad. You broke it to mom and dad, and at this point you're saying that you're kind of pushing Samantha away, saying, "Hey, we need to take a break." How did she take that?
She hated me. She thought I was the biggest asshole ever, and I didn't blame her. I didn't blame her at all. You know. Yeah, no, who does that? Right? But at that age, at 15 years old, I'm scared. You know, I'm scared, and I know I felt I was just getting my life started, just meeting new people. She was amazing. She is amazing. I knew that I wanted to be with her, but I also knew that I hadn't really experienced life very much in order to settle down right then and there with her. So I needed to live life. I needed to live life and experience a little bit more before I made that huge commitment.
So at 15, your thought process was, I do want my family and I do want this to happen. I want us to be together, but I need to get some things out of my system before.
Correct.
And the logical thing for you to do at the time was to say, hey, well, let's take a break.
Be completely honest with her, and I let her know that I feel like I still need to experience a lot more before I actually settle down with you, but you are the one that I want to settle down with.
So did that break ever happen?
Yeah, it happened. It happened basically halfway through, more than halfway through the pregnancy, all the way through um, my daughter being born. When my daughter was born, we were a lot more, we kind of got past all of that and talking a lot more on better terms and great relationship, seeing each other more often. We were able to work through that. And so when my daughter was born, we were on good terms.
Now, what do you think the method to that was? I mean, it's hard for adults alone to stay together. Marriages are, the divorce rate for marriages is crazy.
Mm-hmm.
And it definitely doesn't matter if you have kids with somebody that it's pretty rare when you meet a kid and you ask them, if their parents are still together. That's usually not the case.
Correct.
So what was it that you guys did differently, especially at that young age, to make it work?
I think it was just being completely honest. Even though it was brutal and it hurt, I think it was my honesty with her, as far as me letting her know I do see you as my lifelong partner, but I need to get things out of my system in order for that to happen. So as much as she hated me, I think she's seen the bigger picture. And when we did work things out and we were able to get back together, kind of just made us that much stronger.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean, because you kind of took the opposite approach to where most teens and most males, period, would actually tell their girl what they want to hear.
Exactly right.
But then do something completely the opposite
Mm-hmm.
behind their back.
Correct.
To whereas if you took what she would have called the asshole approach,
Mm-hmm.
and was straight up with her and let her know what your intentions were, what your wants and needs were, and because of that, maybe you were because that was an asshole thing to do.
Correct.
But at least she knew that she could, when you said something, she could trust you.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's so important for any working relationship to go. So, I mean, you're touching base on it. That's telling me that's kind of what has helped your relationship still to this day keep going strong, is brutal honesty.
Correct.
And you touch base that went all the way through when Elena was born, your
Mm-hmm.
daughter, my goddaughter. So when she was born, how long did you guys stay separated before you said, "Hey, let's get our family together and let's make it work"?
I'd say it had to have been a couple months. It was a couple months because when she was born, Samantha was living at her grandmother's house, and I remember I'd go stay the night here and there, and then I'd come home, and that's kind of when we started to work things out a little bit. So I'd have to say she was a couple months old that we said, "Hey, okay, let's get let's work this out," and we worked it out, and then Samantha and Elena ended up moving in with me at my parents' house, and that was we were 16 at that time.
16, and through all this whole time, you've always did your best to earn a living. Was it now at that time just to support yourself, or did you start as soon as you could start supporting, the mother of your children and your daughter?
Correct. That's what I was doing. Now I was working for not only myself, but for my family, my small family I've created. So my wife was also working. She was working. We were both working.
So although you said you wanted to do your own thing and you didn't want to be together, you still put your family, you still were going to take care of your family.
Correct. Um, that was more of the fact of when my daughter was born. Again, it wasn't, I was young, so when I broke that off, I broke it off from her. I wasn't supporting her. I wasn't doing anything. Not,
No doctor visits, no.
I was at the doctor visits. I definitely made it a point to go to the doctor
It was
visits.
more as a teammate.
As a teammate, yeah. And there for that support, and then I'd go out my separate ways from there. I'd meet her at the doctor visits, you know. I supported her in every way, all the way through there. Anything that she had to do with the baby, I was there and I helped her out. But anything that had to do with her personally, I was not a part of.
So you guys, now, Elena's a few months old. You guys decide you're gonna make this thing work.
Mm-hmm.
She moves in with the family. Now that you guys are living together, what big changes happen then?
As far as
your daily schedule. Now what are you doing? Are you still going to school?
yeah, 16 years old. Now I was going to school. I built some pretty good relationships with teachers kind of growing up. I've always hung out with an older crowd, so I think I kind of mingled a little bit better with the older crowd, especially when it came to teachers that were cool. So I was able to get out of class basically shortly after lunch.
Mm-hmm.
And that gave me the opportunity. They knew that I had a kid, and they knew my mindset was a lot different than other teens that were.
So it wasn't because you were like a straight A student.
No, definitely not.
4.0 and
I was having a lot of people do my homework for me. and
so,
I don't,
but
yeah.
that I'd like to stay there for a little bit because I really want to get the message across of how important is it to build relationships.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the time you're talking about you're between 15 and 18 at high school, that you're building these relationships with teachers.
Correct.
And then I know from back then you also were building them with security guards.
Correct.
As well, to where it seems like the automatic response from teenagers to teachers and vice versa, teachers and security guards to teenagers, is like they're enemies.
Mm-hmm.
But if you would have took that route, especially if you're not doing academically well,
Correct.
that could have been a whole different story for you.
It would have made everything so much harder for me.
So why? How did you know, or did you know that was important, or was it kind of just something that happened that you started building these relationships?
I knew that building relationships were great to do just at a young age. I knew that.
How?
Again, it's the way I was brought up, just that my family value is we'd go out to places and either my dad knew somebody, my mom knew somebody, along with yourself, you know, with coming up with work and starting so young. Everyone always knew somebody, different places we went, and I seen how many doors it opened up, you know, for not only my parents or my siblings, but for all of us. So I knew that building that was very important, and not only for myself and my family, but also for those individuals that I was mingling with, even though they were adults. That we all grow up sometime, so I know that I was going to add value to them some way, somehow.
And when you started to build these relationships, was it only with the teachers and the security guards that approached you a certain way, or were there some that may have came off as a jerk or asshole to you, but you said, hey, it's important for me to build a relationship, so I'm gonna do whatever I can to either ignore it or work with their attitude? Was it that way, or?
Oh yeah, it was that way. It was that way, definitely.
It wasn't just to the people who were nice to you.
No, definitely not. And you know, you can't please everybody. So and you never know who's having a good day and who's having a bad day. So I try to build relationships with everybody who I seen on a daily basis. I was seeing these people every day for hours upon hours a day. For 4 years, you know? So it's better to build a positive relationship than a negative relationship, but I didn't build that with everybody. There was ones that just didn't care for me at all, from the way I dressed, the way I things I did, who I hung out with. They stereotyped me instead of really getting to know who I was as an individual, and I shied away from those people. Once they put me in that category, I didn't have anything to do with them, and I didn't try to make their life harder as long as they didn't try to make my life harder. You know, I put my energy into the ones that were more positive and understood who I was as a young kid / parent growing up.
So say a teen's listening to this right now and they're in high school and they want to start building relationships with the security guards, with the teachers, the principals, the coaches, whoever it may be. But in the past, they've had a little rocky relationship with them, to where now they can't just start fresh and with a nice introduction and give a good first impression. So what are 3 tips that you could give them that you used when you necessarily didn't have a good relationship with somebody, but it was in your best interest to make it that way?
I mean, it's really as simple as, hey, how's your day going? You know, security guards are strolling through the hallways just like you are, right? Teachers are waiting in the classroom for you to enter that classroom. So when you walk in, it's simple to say, hey, how was your weekend? Or hey, how's your day going? You know, that's 1. 2 is if you're not the best student in the class, or you're struggling, whatever the case is, instead of being the class clown or making things harder for the teacher, keep to yourself. Keep to yourself and let that class, let them teach the class and do their thing, and you do yours, basically, you know. And 3rd, I'd say just respect. Just be respectful. Whatever that means, you know, whether it means don't not speaking to them, maybe speaking to them.
Simple manners, right?
Just simple
Please,
manners.
thank you.
Exactly.
Yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am.
Yeah.
So to recap is like 1, make the first move.
Correct.
Ask them how their day was or how their weekend was. Be the first to approach them.
Yep.
2 was, if you aren't comfortable with that, at the very least, don't be a nuisance.
Correct.
Keep to yourself. Get your work done. Don't make their job any harder than it already is. And then the 3rd one would be just to simply be respectful. And I think that one alone, amongst an ocean of high school students, will make one of the best impressions.
Correct.
Right there. So, high school, are you now on track to graduate high school after all this time? Now that Samantha's moved in, you have Elena living in there, you're still working, making a living. Are you on a pretty simple track to graduation at that time?
Yeah, I was still on track, still doing my thing.
And then you went above and beyond a little bit to where either they reached out to you or you reached out to them, but you got involved with the program. And that program helped you kind of pick a career and help facilitate you going towards that career.
Correct.
So can you tell us a little bit about that program?
Yeah, again, that came about. They reached out to me. That came about from, I guess, one of my teachers had reached out to them to let them know, hey, you know what, this guy he comes here, he's a full-time student. From here, he walks to work, goes to work. He has a kid and a girlfriend. This kid's doing his thing, you know. That's how they seen me. So they would always talk to me about, what are you doing after high school? And I was like, I don't know. Are you going to college? No, I'm not. I'm done. I don't want to go to school. You know, I'm not a big fan of school. I'll figure it out. You know, in the meantime, I'll either do some construction, some office furniture. You know, I just really didn't know what I had in mind. So they went to the career center and spoke to a couple ladies down there, and they reached out to me. I remember I got a call in there. One of the passes came in and they called me in there. I went in there and chopped it up with them, and they said, we really want to help you accomplish whatever it is you want to accomplish, but we need you to let us know what your interest was. And at that time, I had no idea. And they said, well, you're graduating in about 3 months, so we'll give you some time to think about it, but know that we're here to help support you, and whatever it is that you want to do, we'll pay for all of it. I said, well, okay, I'll think about it.
So you didn't go looking for this program, it was your work ethic.
Correct.
That somebody seen.
Correct.
And said, they probably didn't even know what your grades were at the time. They just said, damn, this kid has a solid work ethic. I need to help him in some way, because he's gonna do something.
Correct.
So they help you, they hook you up, you choose barbering, and they send you out, they pay for everything, tuition, the tools of the trade, and then you end up moving to Bakersfield to go to college, barber's college there. How long was that for?
I was 11 months. I was there, I moved out there for a year. The course was 11 months. They did everything. All I needed to do was find out what I needed to do, or what I wanted to do, who my contact was, and supply my barber contact to them. And from that point, they set everything all up. I didn't have to do anything. They set up payments, they set up everything. Called me in and said, Richard, you're good to go. Here's your package. As soon as you graduate in June, you move out there and you start your course in August.
I mean, that's just to hear that. I mean, that's such an awesome program that there is. And you would have had no idea that it existed.
Never.
Fortunate enough, you had the work ethic that somebody noticed and put you on it. But I can't imagine that's the only awesome program that these schools around have.
Correct.
So it's important that you go ask, right?
Yeah.
If you have like any interest in anything, go ask about it.
Yeah.
There's, now that we've started our program, Solid Foundation, we've had such a big network within corporations and business because of our office furniture business. Now we're meeting like whole new different network of people, just because we've simply are now spreading the word and asking. So you have to go and take initiative, because not everyone's going to have the work ethic like you. I mean, our aim is to instill that. We want to teach that work ethic, because you're here telling us all the benefits of it right now and how important it is. So, get out there and ask your schools or any programs you're a part of any special interest you have, go and ask. So Barber College, another special thing about Barber College for you is you moved out to Bakersfield by yourself at the age of, what age is this now?
18. So I moved out to Bakersfield when I was 18 years old, solo, by myself. My girlfriend Samantha was finishing up beauty school. We had our daughter. They were living at my house. I'd come down on the weekends to visit with them and then shoot back up. The course was 11 months. I ended up finishing my course in, I believe it was 9 months. I was doing 10-hour days, so I was the first one there and I was the last one to leave. By the last 2 months of my program at that school, I wasn't even cutting hair anymore. I was now managing the entire school. That's what I was doing. They call it a black smock. So everyone there is in a tan smock. Those are all the barbers, women and men. And then there was the black smock, who was a manager. That was what the customers knew to go to if they needed any direction. Well, that's what I graduated from my class being, was a black smock. I was handing out all the haircuts. I knew who was capable of doing what. I was managing all the money. I was managing all the problems. I was doing all the books. I was doing all the ordering. You never really seen the main instructor unless it was a real big issue, but he let me run everything. And again, I finished my course in 9 months.
So what formula did you use when you entered in barber college to not only finish it early, but to end up running the show?
As far as it was my work ethic, it was showing up. First one, I wanted it. I was there. These people believed in me more than I believed in myself in high school. So they seen potential in me before I even seen it. And to know that they put me all through this program on top of my parents paying for me to live out there. And I know I had mentioned to you that my parents paid for my rent, and if I wanted cable, my bills and all those things, I was hustling. I was selling stuff on Craigslist. That's what I was doing. I picked stuff up off the side of the road on my ways back and forth, and I'd either fix it up and then I'd sell it. That's how I was making my money.
Which anyone can do.
Anybody
at
can
any
do it.
point in time.
All the time. So yeah, that's what I was doing, and I knew that I had so many people who believed in me. I needed to hustle. This is what I wanted to do, and it's all being funded. I'm grinding.
All you gotta do is work.
All I gotta do is work, and I was loving it, meeting people from all over, because that was the #1 barber college at that time. I was just grinding, and I built one of the best relationships with the owner of that business. He called me. It was me and 2 other guys from Santa Barbara. He was in love with Santa Barbara. Bakersfield's a lot different than Santa Barbara, so he called us the Coast Boys. And again, I built relationships with him that I had the upper hand over there. But it was all due to my work ethic. That's what it all came back down to.
And you went from, you started early at office furniture, because our family's been involved with office furniture here in Santa Barbara for over 20 years. And then I know you worked movie theaters, you did home improvement, you mentioned you did telemarketing, and now all of a sudden you're picking up barbering, because I know at the time Mom had started her salon on the Mesa, and she had fitness cosmetology, and you knew, hey, you could come and help, you had a place to work, and you could help the family build that business. You come back, you graduate, you move back to Santa Barbara, you start barbering, and you don't only just go to barber at Mom's shop. Something in you says, that's not enough. I want more. So you ended up barbering at Classic Barbers as well on the weekends, because your grind is just nonstop. And to me, you've proven to yourself over and over, all I got to do is work.
Yeah.
If I work hard enough and I put the effort in, the opportunities are just going to keep flowing.
Correct.
And to this day, can you say that's still the case for you?
Yeah, most definitely. The whole reason why I went to that Classic barbershop was because I knew my mom had, it's your mom, that she wants to support you as much as possible. I already had it made there before I even had a license, right? Well, I wanted to see what I was capable of doing out on my own with this certificate that I built.
You earned it.
I earned it. So I wanted to see, well, what is it like to go out there and now hunt for a job? So I was working with my mom's shop full time, and then looking for other shops that I wanted to work. I found one. George owns Classic Barbershop. Awesome guy. Hit it off with him. He was like, dude, you remind me a lot of me at that age. you're grinding. Hell yeah, here's a chair, man. This is how we run it here. I need you here at 7 o'clock in the morning, every morning, till these hours. And then from there, then I went back to my mom's shop. So I was working both of them at the same time.
And at that time right there, you still messing around with office furniture?
Oh yeah, I'm still doing
you
that.
Can't get rid of that.
I couldn't get out of it.
So that goes for up to about what age? The whole barbering thing, where you were going at it. That was your kind of full-time gig.
That was up into, I'd say I was probably about 20, 22, 23.
About 22, 23, and then you, what was it? Did you start to lose interest on it, or was it just not that much business to where you kind of came back to office furniture full-time?
It was more of I lost the passion for it. I lost passion for actually what I was actually doing. What I gained passion for was working with and meeting new people. I was building relationships with so many different people. I had clients even from New York coming in for work, but they'd come and see me for a haircut.
How hard was it for you to cut that tie though? Like you said, you in high school is when you said, hey, I want to be a barber. I got this other experience, other places, cool. It allowed me to show what I got, but I want to do barbering. And then you got your parents funding it, you got a school program funding it, you spent almost a year of your life over there earning that certificate. Now you come back and you're like, well, I don't really like it that much. How tough was it for you to say, well, I don't like it that much, I'm gonna leave it alone?
It wasn't tough for me at all.
But most people wouldn't feel that way, right? They'd say, I invested all this, I can't leave it behind. So why not you?
It wasn't tough for me because I knew me getting up every day and doing something that I hated, who benefited from that? Not me, not my family, definitely not my clients. I wasn't going to cut them to the best of my ability because I didn't want to be there. I didn't want to do it. So it was a lot easier for me to understand that than make myself feel that I'm letting all these people down.
Or I wasted
my
own time.
Wasted my own time, money. I seen it as an investment because it built so much confidence in me as an individual to meet all these new people and build these relationships with more people. I was dealing with people on a day-to-day basis. I mean, you're almost like a therapist for these individuals. Some of them didn't even need haircuts, but they'd come in and still see you just because they want to express themselves to you and they know that you're there to listen. You know, that built a lot of confidence in me. And that's it. I didn't see it as letting anyone down. I seen it as just another chapter opening up for me. I still cut hair till this day. You know, I'm now going on 12 years. I have clients that I've had from day one. For 12 years, I still cut them. I always make time for those day ones. Always.
And now you can do it with the passion that you still had rather than beating a dead cat.
Exactly.
And just kind of blocking them out while they're spilling out their feelings to you.
Exactly.
And you as a person, you wouldn't have felt right doing that.
No.
But more importantly, with your mindset, you don't see it as a failure, as a setback, as a waste of time. You said you see it as another chapter.
Correct.
Cool. You know what? I'm glad that I did that barbering thing because I really thought I wanted it. But now that I did it, cool, I like it, but not like I thought I would.
Correct.
So now I could scratch that off, and now I can go on to the next thing.
Exactly.
Except for the next thing didn't happen yet because you went right back to Old Faithful.
Yeah. Exactly right.
So I know if you started working with us and you're around the 15, 16 area, that probably would have made me about 20. So at the time the business is probably only 2 years old. But it wasn't just your little brother, I'm gonna give you these opportunities. Every step of the way you had earned it.
Correct.
This time around when you came back and you're 22, 23, you're now running crews for us. And I'm sure that had a whole a lot to do with how you build relationships with
Mhm.
people, with clients and the employees. But it doesn't take too long from that point to where that feeling starts setting in, like what it did with barbering,
Mhm.
where you're like, damn, this ain't for me, man.
Mhm.
And I remember clearly that day you saying it was just, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but I know I'm not gonna do this anymore.
Yeah.
Not like this, anyways.
Mhm.